That was me.
Okay.
Yep.
For this we want to talk because it's such a small group. My name is Kevin McMullen. I'm with Access VR, and this is Audrey Giordano. She's a vocational counselor at Access VR. Audrey's going to be the counselor that's going to work with the students from this school, and I'm the supervisor for transition and youth services for students that apply to Access VR. Does anyone know about Access? Nobody know anything about Access VR? Okay. I'll just start. I'll explain generally who we are, what we do, and then Audrey will talk about the actual application process. So Access VR stands for Adult Career and Continuing Education Services. We started after World War I with veterans who were disabled from the war. So say a bricklayer couldn't lay bricks anymore because they lost an arm or something. The government wanted to help retrain them so they can go back to work and do something different, okay? So then over the years, the definition of disabilities expanded. And at this point, the federal government wants to assist anybody that has a struggle or disability who wants to work, and they have trouble getting a job, or they have trouble preparing for work, or if they have trouble keeping a job for whatever reason because of a disability. Our agency is set up to help somebody like that, okay? There's no age limit for Access VR. Someone can apply while they're still in high school. And so for high school students, if you have an individualized educational plan or a 504 plan, you're going to be considered eligible because right now as a student you're preparing for employment. You're working towards your high school diploma. Once you get a high school diploma, you're going to have more options available for you for work. So right now you're preparing for employment, okay, when you get older. And because you have an individualized educational plan, you need additional help to prepare for employment. You need some help with making sure you're successful in school, okay? So you will be eligible for our agency if you have an individualized educational plan or a 504 plan, okay? So there's not going to be a question about that, but if you want to work after high school or after college, if you want to get a job and you need help with that, you can apply to Access VR, okay? So that's basically it. Like I said, you can apply while you're in high school, you can apply 10 years from now if you're still having trouble getting work or preparing for work. You can apply any time in your life. We have people that are trying to get a job and they're my age. They still want to try to work, but they have some troubles with that, okay? So any time in your life that you have trouble preparing for work, say like you're in college or whatever, or getting a job, you can't seem to get a job for whatever reason, or keeping a job. Say you get jobs and then you keep losing a job. Or if you're doing a job for a long time and then you want to do better and you want to go back to school and advance in your field, and you have trouble with that, you can apply, okay? So the application is a one-page application that you fill out with Mr. Rios, right?
Mm-hmm.
You coordinate that with Mr. Rios. Mr. Rios will provide the disability documentation that he has, and usually the IEP, the 504, and the other stuff, and gives it to Mr. Delgado here, and then Mr. Rios takes it from there. But what I'll discuss now, real quickly, is the kind of services that we can help people with once you determine eligible. So once you determine eligible, then whatever kind of services we can provide will all be geared toward an actual employment outcome, okay? So if someone just says they want to go to college, that's fine, but we have to have an actual reason why you're going to college. There's a goal at the end of that, okay? We have to agree that you're going to college because you need it. Your job goal requires a college degree, okay? So we can help pay for college, we can help pay for vocational training programs, we can help people just go out and get a job. Yeah.
So you could pay like for this now since we're
Say that
seniors
again?
in high school?
I'm sorry.
You could start paying for like all this since we're seniors in high school?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You said since y'all can pay for schooling for us.
We can pay for college, correct?
How can we start that application?
Okay, I'll explain that, okay? So, once you apply, we'll talk about that, but once you apply for college, so, you'll meet with Mr. Gatto, and you'll work toward identifying a goal that you want to get to, a vocational goal, and then all the services follow afterwards. So the first thing you want to do is decide what you want to do for a career, okay? Do you have an idea? Do you want to share that?
For example, if I wanted to be a nurse, that
Okay.
requires a college degree, correct?
Correct.
So if I came in and we decided that a nursing career is something that I wanted to pursue, it would then make sense for me to go to college,
Correct.
and that program could be funded.
Correct.
Okay.
But the caveat is that the counselor has to agree that you're gonna be able to attain and maintain work as a nurse. If someone comes in with very poor academic skills, say second or third grade reading levels, we're not gonna necessarily approve a goal that requires a college degree because they're not gonna be looking at college. So depending on your academics,
But maybe then I could be counseled for something similar, but not the same, like medical assistant.
correct, right. So, you know, our job is to help you work toward getting a suitable job. So if someone says, say, we'll use the example of a nurse, and Audrey meets with you, and then we look at all of a sudden, we look at your academics, and we see that you might be struggling with that. We might say, you know, let's look toward a goal that doesn't require such rigorous academic credentials. Maybe instead of a nurse, an X-ray technician, or a certified nurse's aide, or just working in a hospital in an administrative setting that doesn't require a four-year bachelor's degree in a nursing program. So the whole, everything we do is going to be geared toward an actual employment outcome. So we can pay for vocational training programs, we can pay for college programs, we can pay for people with really significant struggles. We have supported employment, which is more of a place and train model. So we'll help you get placed into a job, and then the job coach will train you right on the job to learn what you have to do. And that's for people with very significant struggles, okay? We'll stop for questions now? Yeah.
What qualifies for significant struggles?
If someone has limitations in 3 areas, major areas, like interpersonal skills, academics, functional activities, you know, that's determined, Audrey determines that based on the information from the IP. Maybe people are getting outside counseling services, or we would like to get as much documentation from the school as possible, so any kind of psychoeducational evaluations, or a level 2 vocational assessments to help us information. And then Audrey's going to ask you a lot of questions about what kind of, do you have any work history from high school? What was your favorite subject? You know, I like to ask what kind of work did your parents do? You know, we just get a full picture of what's possible. Okay. Questions?
Do you support international studies?
Well, we don't support studies until we come up with a vocational goal. Okay.
Alright.
So, but we're not going to pay for somebody to go to a school outside of the country.
Got it.
But you can go to a school in a different state. That's international studies. You know, you could do that, but we wouldn't fund anything additional for you to study outside of the United States. Okay. You have another question?
I'm sorry, yes. How long does this program support our students?
Great question. So it can be 6 months or 6 years. It depends on what the vocational goal is and what you need to get to that goal. Some people go to school for, you know, we can pay for schooling up till a bachelor's degree, sometimes even up to a master's degree. Okay, or sometimes people just want to go out and get a job. Sometimes if you don't know what you want to do and you want to just go out and make some money, we can help you with job placement services. And maybe you work for a year or two, and then you decide, now I want to go to college and make more money and advance my education. That's also legitimate. Yeah.
Can you help them with both, which are money goes to the college so they can combine both?
We can help people get a job and go to college, but if we're going to fund a vocational goal that requires a college degree, you know, we need you to go to college full-time, at least 12 credits, that's 4 courses, and maintain at least a C average. Okay, if you dip below a C average, you know, Audrey's going to want to meet with the student once every semester to look at your grades. If you know, you have a semester that you're under a C average, we're going to give you another semester to pick up your grades. Maybe you want to go part-time, go to the student disabilities office, make sure you're involved there. If you're having a FF or 2 semesters, you're not really maintaining at least a C average, we're going to have to work with you to come up with a different vocational goal. We're not going to fund college anymore, and you'll probably lose if you get state or federal grants also, because there's an expectation if you're going to get funded by taxpayers that you have to function, you have to have a certain level of academic abilities. So in that case, you know, Audrey, you'd meet with Audrey again and come up with maybe another goal that maybe it's still in your field of interest but doesn't require a college degree, like I was saying, X-ray technician or certified nurse's aide or whatever. Yeah.
I have a question. So what if I enroll and everything's going well and I have some type of life event where I have to move state?
That you what?
I have to move to a different state.
Okay.
What happens in that case? Like what do we do?
So that's another good question. So there is an agency like this in every state. We're all funded by the same Rehab Services Act at Congress, and every state gets funded similarly. So in every state, I mean, this does happen, and we refer the individual to that state VR program.
So that's what would happen. So
Right.
my point person at VR would then, refer to where I'm going, to the new place where I'm
Well,
going.
what we do, I do, like somebody moved to Florida, so I'll let them know about the VR program in Florida based on where they live. And then when they get down there, they have to apply individually for that program. I would close the case here, and then that person would have, the student would have to sign a release. The VR program in Florida will reach out to me, I can send them everything they need.
So the plan would be whatever state that I go to, I go to that VR program that we've discussed, and then I fill out a release so that they can then get all my information from you.
Correct.
Okay.
It'd be
I just
useful
wanna
for
make
them
sure
to
that I
know
have
what we
a plan.
did. You know,
Okay.
they wanna know if you were, you know, the student should say, hey, I have a case open in New York State. I'm gonna request to have all the documentation sent down there, so they can use our existing documentation to
pick
go
up
through the
where they left
eligibility
off.
program.
Right, so they pick up where, you know, the child, the student will pick up where they left off. So if they
Well,
move from one
I
state.
can't say, you know, because every state has their own, you know, we all have similar guidelines, but they can at least have the documentation to determine eligibility at that point, and then they will develop a plan, just like we had. Hopefully it'll be the same plan, but every state has slightly different guidelines, and it depends on a lot of things, okay? I can't say what that state's gonna do as far as continuing the plan they have already, but it's gonna be useful for that counselor at that state to know what we did and what our process was. Hopefully they can continue the process. But every state might have separate, different funding guidelines. And I can talk about our college funding guidelines and our vocational funding guidelines now. Shall we do that now? You guys have any? So, say you meet with Audra, and then next summer after you graduate, I'm just gonna wanna get a bunch of paperwork from you. When we're gonna provide a lot of services, we have to look at family household income, okay? So I'm just gonna wanna know the household income tax returns, bank and savings statements, and any investment statements, okay? We use that information to determine whether the family has available resources to help pay for any of our planned services. So that's something that has to happen. And Audra will look at that stuff, and then she'll have you sign a form, and we're gonna determine whether we're gonna determine either your family has available resources that has to be spent down first, or that your family doesn't have available resources, okay? Then we look at the grant money that you applied. If you're going to college, I'm assuming you're talking about college, you know, you're gonna have to apply for the free application for federal student aid like anybody else to see if your family's eligible for grants. Then we subtract the grant money that you're gonna get from the cost of the school. If there's still an unmet need for the school, I can give you these amounts now. The maximum we can pay for tuition per semester is around $3,535, okay? That's the SUNY or CUNY rate for training. So if you go to a private school that's $20,000, if you meet all the requirements, we can pay $3,535 a semester. Which means you might have to take out school loans to make up the difference, okay? But in addition to tuition, we can pay the actual, similar to what the CUNY SUNY fee rates are, which is, I don't know what that is now, $1,700 a semester. Depends, but we can pay what the SUNY rate was for fees. We can pay the actual cost of books, and we can pay for your actual travel costs back and forth to school. If you can't commute to the school and you need to dorm there, if it's outside of commuting distance, we can pay up to $3,000 a semester for room and board in lieu of instead of the transportation, okay?
Is that the
So
same?
those are the funds, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, continue, I'm sorry. I was gonna ask if that was, because that's for the college process, what if my child wants to go to vocational school?
Okay, so vocational school is a different funding thing, but we do look at family income again. We look to see if the school accepts Pell Grants, because some vocational schools receive Pell Grants, so we look at that first. For vocational training, we can pay up to $15,000 for tuition, and that's for a program that lasts up to 12 months, okay? So that's a really good program. We're a really good source of funding for vocational training programs. We can pay $15,000 for tuition, we can pay the actual fee costs, we can pay for books, we can pay for tools, we can pay for licensures, we'll pay for the transportation expenses. So that's a good program that we can work with. And the same thing goes for vocational schools. You have to maintain, obviously, good attendance and passing grades. And then once you finish the vocational training, if you need a to get certified or licensed, we'll pay for the licensing exam, things like that, and then we'll help you get a job, okay? Unless the school has job placement services too. For college, it's, you'll meet with the auditor like once a semester to look at your grades, to make sure everything's going well. We can fund up to, for an associate degree, we can fund up for 2 years and 2 additional semesters. That way, if you need to go part-time for a while, we can still fund you. But after, if you don't have an associate degree within 2 years and 2 additional semesters, we're gonna have to stop funding because, our policies, we're trying to be fair about how the funding is spent. We'll want you to finish that associate degree, but you're gonna have to borrow money to finish up, okay? If you're not done by then.
So, let's just say my child decides to do vocational school, right? And, for whatever field that he's interested in, he does vocational school. He completes the program. Sometime down the line, he says, okay, you know what, Mom, he decides he wants to get an associate's degree.
Okay.
Will Access VR still help him with the college? Like, is it one or the other as far as funding goes?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's pretty much one or the other. Like if he gets training to become, say, a carpenter's assistant or something, and then he wants to go to college to become a IT guy, we're not gonna fund. If he successfully completes a program and he's able to work in that job, then we want him to get a job in that field. If he wants to go back to school and change, that's up to him. He can make money and pay for that or whatever. So that's why it's important to come up with, I know people change their goals sometimes. The only example of that we could use, say somebody finished trade school to become a carpenter and then they became physically disabled. They couldn't work as a carpenter anymore. They can come back and reapply and we can retrain them to do something that didn't require the physical job, okay? That would be an example of coming back for retraining. Or someone, say, gets a job as an x-ray tech from training, but they have the academic potential, and then they're working as an x-ray tech for a couple years, and then they want to go back to college because they want to become a nurse. And that would be an example of helping somebody advance in their field. They're in the same field. So we can help people advance in the same kind of field, but we're not going to train them for something completely different unless there's a disability-related reason for that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you do go to college or the trade school, you're going to want to hook up with the disabilities office and make sure that you have a good rapport with them and make sure you get all the accommodations that you're entitled to with your IEP. What else?
We also have a college fact sheet, so we give that to everybody, just so that you know, like, what we expect from you, and also in return, what you can expect from us. So it'll give you the information about, like all the policies of, when we need your stuff for, like, let's say, if you're applying for, let's say you're graduating this June, and you're gonna be applying for, the fall of 2025, on the college fact sheet, like when I meet with you, I can print one out for you, you can, take it home, read it with your parents, go over it, and then, if you feel comfortable, sign it, that kind of thing. But it'll have all that information, so it'll tell you when I need your college information, in order for us to do your plan. Because I know that when you're registering for school, especially your first semester, you're gonna be registering a little bit later than people who are already in college. People who are already in college start registering like in November for their January classes. But because you're still in high school, obviously we're not registering yet because you have to, show them your diploma from the high school. So we're aware of that, we understand that. So, we will ask you, let's say when you meet with your college advisor, you're meeting with them in July or what have you, that, this is the information I need, please give it to me by this particular date, things like that. So it'll be explained in my letter that I give to you and also with the fact sheet. So it covers everything about how much we pay for, for books, for transportation, for tuition, things like that, what Mr. McMullen was talking about. Because I know it's a lot of information to keep track of, so that way you can just reference the fact sheet. And every now and then, like every probably 2 or 3 years, they change the college policy a little bit, tweak it a little bit. So, it might change, so your amounts might be higher for a while, might be lower. It depends on the funding that we get. But we would always, let you know that information.
Yeah, good point.
But just so that you're aware, because that does happen from time, it doesn't always happen, but every now and then it does happen. And we do outreach to the college students so that, they're aware of that.
Just curious, what happens with students, so like let's say they graduate from vocational program or college, how do they keep in contact with Access VR, or how often does Access VR?
Well, if
keep
I'm
in
their
contact?
assigned counselor, so they would, like, I will be their point person at Access VR. If they're assigned to my caseload, then they'll be working with me. So I'll give them my card and everything when I meet with them. It'll have my phone number, my email, and also, I will also give them, when I email them, it'll have my counselor assistant's, information as well. So let's say if they wanted, because my counselor assistant has access to my calendar, so let's say if somebody wants to have an appointment with me, they need to discuss something or whatever, my counselor assistant can go into my calendar and she could make the appointment and things like that. So like, let's say I'm here now, but let's say somebody calls and they say they want an appointment, instead of waiting for me to get back, my counselor assistant can go in, put in, the appointment date that, you guys agreed upon, and then, she'll send me an email, so, this person wanted to meet with you, you had an open date, I don't know, next Tuesday at 10 a.m., I scheduled this appointment for them, that kind of thing. So, it's also important, like, if I give you an appointment, and let's say, 'cause I don't know your school schedule, let's say you're involved in a sport after school or some other activity, or you're working part-time, so let's say I give you an appointment and it's at 3:30 on Wednesday, but let's say you work after school, let's say you work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday or something. Just as long as you call me and let me know, hey, I can't make the appointment, I can't make it on that day, I can only make Tuesday or Thursday. As long as I know that, then I can put you in. Cause sometimes what happens is people, they're like, oh, I can't go to this appointment, but they don't tell us, and then we're keep trying to get in touch with them. Cause after, the way our computer system is, after so many times of us trying to get in touch with somebody, like through email, we also text, your phone number, we try different outreach attempts, we don't just close your case, but we try. But what happens is after so many attempts, then they'll have us close the case. So to avoid that, like I said, we understand, I might give you an appointment and maybe you're gonna be on vacation, we understand that. We understand you could get sick, we don't know what's gonna happen to us a month from now, things happen, life happens. And we definitely 100% understand that, just as long as you tell us, and then we could, rearrange things and stuff like that.
Yeah, if the case gets closed, you can always reopen it
Yeah.
the next day, it's nothing but if someone doesn't maintain sufficient contact and doesn't reach out after a couple appointments, the case gets closed. I just had that example with somebody, and I really tried to work with them, but then they came back and replied, so. There's certain deadline, we kind of a loose deadline, but you should, if you're interested in college for the fall, next fall, you should really get your application by April, right, April 15th or so?
Yeah, probably
April,
by
mid-April.
April, the
Because there's a lot
latest,
of,
if possible, maybe February or March.
So, I will say fairly that all the students in this room have initiated some type of college process, right? So they're with their college counselors and advisors, right? They've done their applications and things are in motion. So I would think it's safe to say that all of them are on their way to some type of either associate's program or four-year program, except for maybe Julianne wants to do something a little different, but.
okay.
Yeah, that's okay, it's not if somebody wants to do a trade school, that's also fine, we work with many different trade schools in the city with many different things, some people wanna do the building trade, some people wanna do basic plumbing, electrical, cosmetology.
Cosmetology is great, you guys do great work. One of my students, went through Access VR, had an amazing experience, became a cosmetologist and moved to Texas and owns her own place, yeah.
That's good to hear.
Another one of my students, went to Gutman, graduated with an associate's and ended up moving down south as well, so, you got a pretty good track record with me, but I have some very specific questions.
Okay.
If I enroll in the military after school, what happened and I get out? Okay, I go, I enlist, I do 4 years, I'm like, this is not for me, I did what I had to do, and now what do? Can I come and still see you?
Yeah, they should hold on to their IEPs, because that'll always make them eligible for Access VR, even 4 or 5 years from now. If they come back and say, I went to the military, but they usually get trained in the military to do some work.
They could, yeah.
But
Okay.
if they, we'll look at what they got trained to do, and if they want to advance in that field, or, they could apply to Access VR. If they have trouble getting a job after they leave the military, and they think they want to get additional training or something, they could come. Well, hopefully they should hold on to their IEPs. And if the worst case scenario, if someone, and this does happen, we've had older people come in and say, I think I had an IP, but I don't remember, I don't know, I can't find it. The school closed, whatever. The last case scenario, we can send someone for a psychological assessment to determine the nature and extent of a learning disability or, neurological problem to help determine their eligibility.
Okay,
That's
and
not as
that'll be
easy
at
as
no
it used to
cost.
be. Pardon me?
And that would be at no cost.
We pay for that, but it used to be easier for us to do that, but it's a possibility for older people.
Okay.
For you guys, hold on to your IPs, because they're useful for future
They're not
reference.
going anywhere. Right, these are
But
stable.
basically, we're gonna need the letter of acceptance or the enrollment agreement from a trade school, the financial aid award information, the itemized bill showing a breakdown of tuition fees and books, and this course schedule, right? And then the family documentation of income. Those are the 5 things that we basically need in order to decide what we can pay for and how much and all that stuff.
Is there a deadline for this application?
What's
To
that?
apply for Access VR, is there a deadline? Is there a time frame when the application should be in?
Well, if you think about, like we said, for the fall, you should really get it in before April 15th or so. The vocational program, especially for a vocational, sometimes they have rolling admissions, so they'll start every 4 weeks or something. So I have somebody like that now. They dropped out of their fall semester in college. Now they want to go to a trade school, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. April 4th, I said, no, you need to withdraw from college. You need to provide enrollment agreement. We can't just jump. We can't move that quickly. We need a little bit of advance warning. So we're working on January to start that guy in trade school, but he wanted to start, he dropped out of college in October, wanted to start the next week. We can't work that fast.
As far as logistics for us as a community, I just wanna highlight that April 15th is tax day and spring break. So we might wanna pull that date for our purposes up a couple days, maybe think April 8th, because we won't be here. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to put it in my calendar for April 8th, a week before.
So if you're looking at vocational schools, I always tell people, ask them if they work with Access VR. If they've heard of us, most likely they're on our vendor list. If they say, I don't know who they are, then that's gonna be a problem. They have to be accredited by New York State, and they have to be on our vendor list. So most of the trade schools are.
So how do we find vocational schools? Like for myself, I'm looking for vocational schools for my child, but it's been difficult finding
Okay.
one. Do you guys, does Access VR help assist a child
Yeah, Audrey
to
can help
find
you.
this,
Career-
to find?
Do you guys use Career Zone in the school at all? It's a web-based, vocational career zone.
Number school?
Careers that you can go on Career Zone yourself, set yourself up, and then they have lots of resources. If, say you do an interest inventory, and you say you wanna do carpentry, it'll link you to trade schools and stuff, but, you can help them also once they apply, right?
I mean, some of the schools we use, like, let's say if someone wants to do plumbing or electrical, is like Burke, Apex, just to like name a few.
Burke Trade School, Apex, yeah,
You know what I mean,
Lincoln Tech,
Lincoln Tech,
the major trade schools are pretty much,
yeah.
but you should check with Audrey once you've
So
decided.
we'll
on it.
find vocational schools?
Pardon?
Yeah, we'll try to find someone, do you know what your son is interested in doing?
I don't even ask them, what are you interested in?
Damn, I knew that was coming.
They're asking you a question.
Like work ones,
Mhm.
smoke shop.
What is it?
He wants to do the smoke shop.
What is it called?
Like, the
Cannabis
marijuana, the
dispensary.
cannabis, the marijuana.
That's
So
not,
I-
there's no trade school for that.
I think what happens is,
So
depends on what he
he
wants to
own
do
his
there.
own
He
business
wants to own his
one
own
day,
business. Okay.
and yes,
Okay.
if you ask me, no, I would not prefer that, but it's not my life. So he
You know-
wants to own his own business one day.
So what I would do is I would research that, like what you need from New York State. I think because of your age, there's certain things you can do in a smoke shop until I think maybe 21. There's certain things you definitely can do, but there's certain things you can't do, that kind of thing, because of the age. But, I would start to I'm not saying you can't do it when you reach 21, but I definitely would research what the state requires for you to get your license to do that. You could start doing that, that kind of research yourself so that you know what you need, to do.
Do you have any retail experience? Have you worked anywhere in a shop or a store? You have, great, okay, so you know what that's about. Once you get a high school diploma, you can go get a job in a smoke shop, I think, probably, right? You get some
Yeah, I
more
think there's like
experience.
certain things, I don't think they can work with the public yet, but they can do like, some of the horticulture things and there's many different jobs that go into that particular field.
So you've been
There's
asked
like more
questions.
hands-on jobs, there's jobs behind the scenes, things like that.
Stop work,
There's like a bunch of different things.
So
that
he
people
wants to
do.
get his
But I
license.
definitely, I would definitely check, you can go on the website, the New York State website, just Google, owner of, how do I get my license to own a smoke shop?
Do
Okay,
you
know what I
guys
mean?
help
And
to
they'll-
get that license, or you do not? Does can Access VR help him get that license?
I can ask if we pay for it, I'm not sure like off the top of my head, because, it is something that, as long as, he meets the requirements for it.
Yeah, we
You know,
pay
we
the
pay,
license,
yeah,
yeah.
we pay for
You
license.
do pay for license.
Yeah.
It's a New York State licensing agency, right?
So, I mean, I definitely can look into it for you and let you know, I can let Mr. Rios know, I can ask if we're able to do that. How old is, I'll ask you later.
You can ask him. You can ask him. 17.
17.
So that route sounds like it's not necessarily college or, so that's just kind of, or vocational, so that,
It's
how
gonna
does
be
that
like
work?
almost like self-employment, I guess you would call it, if
Okay.
you own
Well,
something.
how's someone gonna have a small bit, you have capital to start a business, how are you gonna start a business? Usually when you wanna start a business, you work for a small business and you work your way up into the company and then you save money and then you either take over that person's business or you amass enough money to start your own business, but yeah, you're not gonna run a small business when you graduate high school, there's a long process involved, right?
Exactly.
You
Yeah,
have to
because
start
you have
working.
to prove to the bank, that you could, like, let's say, if you're gonna hire 20 employees, in your shop, or 10 employees, you have to show to the bank, if they're gonna give you a loan for a business, you have to show that you're able to pay their salary, pay the gas bill, all that.
That's a
stuff like
long
that.
shot. I'm gonna
It's
tell you
just,
what-
it's just a very long process, I'm not saying no, but it's very detailed.
in this particular case though, so if a student isn't going to vocational training and not college, but they want a job, then what is Access VR's,
Yeah.
Well,
how
you
does
were
Access VR
helping with-
support?
Yeah, you were helping get that license.
Well, we
Correct.
help you get a job right now, and then maybe
Okay.
if you need a job coach to support you on to help you make your way into the job. And then later on, maybe if you're working and then the license is gonna help you advance in that business, in that company. Say you're working for a smoke shop and then, I know Audrey said maybe there's age requirements before you get a
I
license.
think there's certain things, I have to look into it more though.
But you need to get a job first in that field and then see what the requirements are, and then we could justify paying for a license if it's gonna allow you to advance in that company, okay? But a small business we're not gonna help support you to develop a small business at your age, so it's just not it's not functional or doesn't make any sense.
So for now, it would be like applying to Access VR, getting employment support.
And then
And
looking at
placement,
longer range
okay.
goals, maybe you're working for a couple of years and you realize, I don't wanna go to college and study business, okay? Then maybe it justifies going to college and study business, because you wanna learn how to do finance and how to run a business. But get your feet wet first in a store, work get a
Yeah, like
full-time
maybe
job.
try working in a smoke shop or something, just to see what
Right.
what it involves,
Yeah.
and things like that.
That's a long range goal for you to run a business. I don't wanna discourage you, but right now, for what we can help you with, realistically, is not gonna be helping you have a small business, because that's.
Like end game, that's
That's
the
your
end
end
goal,
game.
yeah.
That could happen in 10 years from now or 15 years from now. If you talk to if you get a job in a smoke shop, ask the owner, like, hey, how'd you get started here? What did you do to get the job? Or how'd you get this business going? You know what I mean? You need to start, asking questions from people that are already doing that kind of work, okay?
I've noticed that a lot of, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go
I've noticed that a lot of, jobs ask for driver's licenses. Is that, yeah, that's a thing,
That's a great question.
okay.
So if a job involves, like I use the example of say somebody went for electrician training
Mm-hmm.
and they're a helper, they're gonna have a better chance of getting a job if they have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Cause they're gonna be gophers, they're gonna be having to get the truck and move it or go to the hardware store, pick up stuff. We wanted to get them trained as the electrician's helper and then look at helping them get their license. They'd have to get their permit first,
Okay,
but then we can help pay for driver's training. But it has to be required or
Connected.
useful for the job.
okay.
We can't do CDL training for young people right out of high school because they're never gonna get jobs as a CDL. If they want to be a CDL driver,
Just because of the insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest get a delivery helper job, get your permit, maybe we can help you get your license so you can work as a delivery driver helper. Have a couple years with a good driver's record, and then when you're 21 or 22, maybe think about going for your CDL, because you won't get a job before that age.
Okay, so kind of the in is if I didn't have a job or want to have a job where being a helper and having a license was a pathway to a license, being a delivery person and getting my permit might be a way into being supported getting my license.
Yeah, but we want you to get the job first.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, okay, like these delivery, helping Amazon drivers, and now we need a license, because you're not gonna get very far if you don't have a license.
Right.
That's a possibility, right? Good questions. Did you have a question?
Yeah, my question is that she's mentioned that some students already started the process to applying, right? For example, this morning we opened up a letter for one of my kids, I have twins here,
Okay.
and she got rejected.
From the college?
Yes.
Okay,
So how that works, because she wants to go for art.
okay. So did she apply to any other colleges yet?
Yes, I don't know how many colleges she applies, but so far, and everything started here,
Okay.
like she mentioned it.
So there's a lot of other colleges she's waiting to hear from? I mean, we have no control over how she gets accepted into colleges, but what we would need is a letter of acceptance from the school in order to.
Yeah, like let's say if she applied to 4 colleges, and she, like say you said like wanted you to get into, but let's say she got into the other 3, that she would choose, the one that she thinks, is a better fit for her. And then, when she comes to meet with me, then she can say, oh, I decided to go to Hunter College or Penn State, whatever college.
Did that answer your question?
Basically, my question is like, what about if she get rejected for all of them, just in case?
Well, maybe she
It
could,
could happen.
maybe she can apply to, like, let's say if she applies to one of these 4-year colleges, maybe she can apply to a 2-year college as a stepping stone. And then she could go there for a year and then reapply to a 4-year college, or she could decide to stay there the 2 years and then, transfer. That's fine, many people do that, that's okay.
Okay.
I think CUNY school would accept, just as long as you have a diploma, right, high school diploma, you can get into a CUNY school. You wouldn't be rejected, I mean, you wouldn't be rejected from a CUNY school, right?
Not to my knowledge, and also like Gutman, I know is very, very welcoming to a lot of our students. So
Right.
Gutman is usually a good option if she didn't apply already, but again, I don't know your daughter, so I can't.
So it's good that you apply maybe to some CUNY, city university schools, CUNY schools and private schools or whatever, just to cover all the bases. That might help. That way she was guaranteed to get into a school, maybe not the one she wanted, but at least get into something, right?
I just wanted to confirm, because I know I drop off the applications whenever we have an applicant, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, so you can discuss that application
So you can
process.
email them to me,
Mhm.
or you can drop them off.
I just want to confirm exactly what documentation we need.
So you would need that access to our application, and then there is a release form just for the school to release their records to us. And then usually most people will have like an IEP, that's probably what the majority of people have. Sometimes you have people that have a 504, or sometimes, like a psychosocial or psychiatric, if that is, more current or that's more applicable to them. So whatever one of those, that they have. So we just, so we would need, those are usually the types of things.
Right, when you submit the application, we like to have that right up front, so that way we can determine eligibility in a timely manner. That's why we like the schools to coordinate the applications to their parents, because you guys have all the documentation.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's useful. So if you want to, work through Miles, is your
Yeah, it's like I know how to get the thing together and drop it off to you guys, so.
And of course,
the
you have to
emails are
sign-
fine too, yeah.
Students under 18, you have to be signed by the
Mhm.
parents.
Is there anything else that's required, like any birth certificates, social security cards, anything
Well,
like that?
I mean, it's easier if you're able to get them, because that is, because eventually we have to ask them for different reasons. You know what I mean, that kind of stuff like that. So,
Is that necessary after they're accepted into the program for that kind of documentation then? Like after they've had their interview and the,
right, yeah, that's all, like, for us, really what we need up front is more the application, the release form, and probably like, let's say the IEP to make them eligible. But then the other stuff is helpful, because sometimes we need that information for different things. And if we ever, like, let's say if we're sending somebody out for, let's say job placement or an evaluation or something like that, obviously, just like the school has to sign a release for them to release your records to us, we also, if we're gonna send your information out, we meet with you, we also have to have you sign a release. Because we can't just send your information out, because it's confidential.
And then some services we provide don't require us to look at family income. So any kind of training programs, we have to look at family income. If we're just gonna do job placement services or supported employment, which is a job coach, family income doesn't take in, we don't have to take that into account. Assessments also, we don't have to,
Are there, if you're just doing the employment route, are there also things that you will pay for then? Because it sounds like the family income is necessary to see how much money you're gonna get from Access VR.
Yeah, so for jobs, so what would you?
I would like transportation or something like that.
For job placement services, you can look for transportation, or do we have to look at income for that?
Have to look at income for that.
For the transportation part, yeah, but for the actual service, we contract out, you know, August, we were talking about this morning, August, the way they changed our program, she's more like a case manager, because we contract everything out, we have vendors that do all this stuff, obviously when they authorize the funding and make sure that everything's on top, but, so for job placement, we refer them out to a placement agency, and then Audra looks at the reports, we pay the placement agency, they get incentivized, they don't get paid until they actually get some of the job, and then they get another payment after they're on the job for a certain amount of time, so.
Okay. So that's how we hook them in.
That's how they get them motivated to get this person a job. They don't get paid until they get somebody a job. You get paid up front a little bit, and then day 5, if they got somebody on a job, they get another incentive payment, and then after day 90 or something.
So a lot of my students specifically struggle with like executive functioning, right? Planning and execution, maintaining, right? So my concern, or I guess my ask is, what's the relationship between the case manager and how much kind of check-in is happening with Access VR, their point person at Access VR and the person?
So we can check in with the, you know, as long as they keep in contact with me.
What does that sound like?
So
is that once a
some
month?
people, like, let's say some people who go to college, they only meet with me twice a year.
Okay,
Some people, but some people meet with me more, or some people email me,
okay.
you know, about different things. So it kinda just depends on the person.
Another person, okay.
Yeah, so there's no like in other words, just if you're going to college, let's say as an example, that doesn't mean you can only meet with me twice a year. You can
Okay.
meet with me 5 times a year, that's okay.
So it's really individualized, it depends on the needs of
Right,
the person,
depends on
it
the
depends on
person.
maybe like what you're making suggestions while the person, the students, the net is also making, there is a mutual decision process, right?
Right.
Okay, I just.
And
wanna make
just
sure.
like what Mr. McMullen said, I always encourage people, you don't have to register with the Office of Disabilities or Accessibility Office to come to Access VR for college. I just recommend that people do that, because if you wanna receive things that were on your IEP.
Whether
it's
they
always
go to
good.
Access VR or not, they will be registering at the Office of
It's
Disability.
just, I found that people find that service
Miss
very,
Rodriguez
very
will make sure
helpful.
that happens.
Absolutely.
Right.
There is no way that they're gonna go to school and they're not gonna be provided with at least extended time, right? Because if you're gonna go to college and you're not gonna have extended time on your assessments, I don't think we're gonna be successful. So it's very important that we go and we register so we can get the extended time at least. That's the minimum that we can get.
And you know, the important thing is that we try to talk about with transition is, right now you have all these great staff people helping you make sure you get through high school. Once you get to college, you're gonna be on your own. So there's people that wanna help you in college, but the student has to reach out and ask for the help. If the student signs up for the disability office and then never shows up again, nothing's gonna happen. No one's gonna chase you down. Nobody, it's not like they don't care, but it's up to you. You're gonna be treated like an adult. If you want help, you have to ask for it. They're there to help you. If you don't go into the office, no one's gonna chase you around. Because on college, you're gonna be treated like any other student. You know, if you want help, you can get it, but you need to ask for it. And that's a really hard thing to learn. And sometimes freshmen call us in November like, oh my God, I'm failing. You know, did you sign up? Yeah, but I never went back. Well, okay, you better sign up. You better go and get help. Okay.
Do you sign up for that disability in college now, or do you sign up like when you sign up?
So did you sign up for what?
The Office of Disability, do you have to sign up for that now or once you go to college?
Yeah, when you go, you're gonna get an orientation in the college that you're gonna go to, and they're gonna maybe show you around and show you where the disabilities office is, and then you'll have a college advisor that will help you with that too. The thing that, with us, we're not an easy agency to work with, right? You really have to be good at engaging with the counselor, reaching out for help, emailing, texting. I mean, we have a way to text. Like I said, if we don't, Audra has lots and lots of students. She has a bunch of high schools. She can't keep up. So if the student makes the effort, Audra will reach out. But if the student's not making the effort, they're going to get lost in the shuffle. You know what I mean? So really make sure you respond to emails, phone calls, letters, appointments. These are great questions, by the way.
Fantastic.
We've been thinking about them for a long time.
Yeah. I'm available for general questions, for elective stuff, and also for
Yes,
specific questions about students. Did you work with Marcia?
Yes.
I remember she had worked with Mary Bertrand.
Yeah.
She was retired. She was good.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I always bring up this story. I had a student who was an athlete, actually got paid to be an athlete, and still went through Access VR and became an electrician, and came back and visited us and said that he was so shocked that he was in the same training program as adults, getting paid the same amount of money, and he was already thinking about he was like, yeah, I'm working for this small company now, but I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get my truck and I'm gonna do my own thing and start my own business. And he was shocked at how much money he was making right out of college.
Yeah.
So, and he was also a professional skateboarder,
Wow.
traveled the world skateboarding. So he was able to do both and still saw value. I'm not gonna skate forever, so let me go and do this thing and set up my future. And he was so impressed by how much money he was making as a 19-year-old.
We
So,
think all these buildings in New York City need all kinds of tradespeople, and they get paid really good money. For a 12-month program after high school to go graduate and start making $30 an hour.
Yeah, that's what I make
Yeah.
here.
Right. And you gotta get a master's degree. You gotta go to
With
school
my-
for 6
yeah.
years. So the trade schools are a great program, and we're a really good asset for students who want to take advantage of the trade school route.
I'm so sorry, I'm just stuck on the whole trade school thing because most likely this is what my child would qualify for. I don't mean to sound redundant, or we just need that direction on where we go, where do we apply, what vocational schools will accept Access VR. We just need somebody to take our hands and guide us through. So who do we go to? I'm not sure if we go to somebody in a school or if we go to you guys,
Well, you guys have a college advisor, do you have anything like that? So you can start here, then when Audrey gets the case and starts meeting with your son, she could also direct, right? You can direct.
and the application process, can we, I just like to start things.
Yeah, you can,
we
if
start the
you want,
application process right now?
is it okay, let's say if this individual submits his application, I don't know, in January, is that okay with the school?
Why wouldn't it be?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine,
Yeah.
I mean, cause it's fine.
We
It's
would-
actually better for us, the earlier we get them, it's actually better. to be
Okay, I just wanna be clear though, so
Yeah.
all I need is the application, theoretically, the bare bones, the minimum, the application, the IEP, and the release form.
Correct.
Those are the 3 pieces of paper. The application does ask for a social security number. So if the student doesn't know their social security number and I'm not able to get it from their parent, can I still submit the application?
You can, but eventually we're gonna.
We will need it. Okay, so supporting documentation, once those 3 things, so those 3 things get submitted, I'm eligible for the program. The next step is when I come in, I will need to provide my birth certificate, social security card, and what else? Oh, my diploma. Those will be the next 3.
Well, you won't have the diploma until June, but.
Okay.
But Audrey usually send a letter out to them, right?
Yeah, usually we'll send a letter, we'll put the stuff on that we need, if we'll remind them, when you have an appointment, let's say, I need your birth certificate, social security number, we'll put that down, we'll say, please bring the following documents, social security social security card, birth certificate, if somebody has a green card, things like that.
Okay.
That kind of stuff, and then we'll put for income, because I don't know anybody's income.
1 minute left, okay.
Then, we'll put, your parents' 2023 income taxes or SSI or letter or public assistance budget letter.
because we don't know what your family situation is.
So we can apply to Access VR before we get notification of acceptance of a trade school or something.
First step is the application, so first step is that application, so application, release form, IEP, sent to you.
Application to trade school would happen here.
If you have questions, well, then we'll-